the most easiest ways right now to get leads, and really profitable leads too. So Aaron, is now a good time to go ahead and share my screen and jump into it?
Yeah, have at it.
Perfect. All right, you guys should be able to see that, right?
Yep.
And just
Awesome.
I want to just build on that just for a second, Aaron. Aaron has built this company up from the ground up. He's got, I think you said 15 employees now working for him. And I've talked to dozens of inspection companies that do business with WolfPack who just have nothing but good things to say. So Aaron truly does know what he's talking about. So I'm excited to hear what you got. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm going to first define what Google Local Service Ads are and why you guys should care, and then I'll actually get into the content of it. So first off, what are Google Local Service Ads? It's essentially the first thing on Google search results now. So on any Google search result, if you look for home inspector near you, home inspector Atlanta, home inspector Orlando, home inspector California, whatever it is, the first section is Google Guaranteed or Google Local Service Ads. And that's why you should ultimately care, is because if you want to show first, that is where the best leads are going. This is where you need to be. So the next section below that, if I go back real quick, which you see down here, this used to be the first section. And this is called the Map Pack. So the Google Map Pack, it's SEO related. It's about optimizing for search engines, right? This is not paid, except you could see I've put an X on this one because it says sponsored. This one is sponsored, but this is the next section. So with Google Local Service Ads, you appear even above this. Now, after that, you get into Google Search Ads or Google AdWords. This is the original Google Ads. So when people think about Google AdWords, Google Ads, that's what these two items are here. So with Google Local Service Ads, you're even appearing above the regular Google AdWords or Google Search Ads. So it is a totally separate platform. You do have to build a campaign entirely on another platform. You do have to just Google, Google Local Service Ads, because it is slightly different from Google Search. But ultimately, you need to care because it's the first thing that users see when they search for home inspectors online. And then finally, just so that we're all caught up to speed on the different sections, we have Google Organic Results, which are at the very bottom. So when people think of, SEO and appearing on Google search, this is primarily like the OG way of ranking on Google. This is where you want to be at. However, what I just kind of discussed there is it's the last thing people see. So it's one of the last things ultimately you could focus on if you wanted to. I would focus on primarily Google Local Service Ads and then the Google Map Pack are the two most important things to me. All right. So some important notes with Google Local Service Ads. The first thing is you pay per lead with Google Local Service Ads. So it is a form of advertising. You pay per lead, and you can opt into message leads on top of regular phone calls. So the leads come in via phone call, or you can opt in to message leads as well. The cost per lead varies on your market. So if I am in Southern California, it's a very expensive market. If I am Southern Florida, Southeast Florida, Miami area, very expensive market. If I'm in Oklahoma, if I'm in Kansas, if I am in one of these like Idaho, North Dakota, South Dakota states, it is much less expensive to advertise there. Same thing in like Maine or wherever else. Texas, another competitive market. The second thing important to note about this is you don't set up keywords with Google Local Service Ads. You set up job types. So with Google Search Ads, you bid on keywords, right? You want to bid on the keyword home inspector near me, right? And you pay per click. That's what everybody's heard about, CPC, or you pay per click. With Google Local Service Ads, you bid on job types. So you select the job types you want on its platform, such as home inspections, well inspection, or mold inspection, and you pay for the job type that you're bidding on. The final important note about Google Local Service Ads is reviews matter. So the first thing a user sees is your reviews. So ultimately, this is one of the number one things you should be focusing on, is getting more reviews. So what? Why should you care about that? Well, here's just a return on investment, like a case study from one of our clients, so you can understand the true impact of Google Local Service Ads. So on the top left, we see the total number of leads. They had 158 leads come in from Google Local Service Ads. The time frame that this is over is actually, if you look right here on the bottom right, is from January 1st, 2025 to January 31st of 2025. That was last month that I pulled this report for this company. They had 158 leads coming in from Google Local Service Ads. The total quote value of the total number of jobs like they could have earned was almost 50 grand. They could have earned 50 grand worth of jobs from January alone from Google Local Service Ads. And then their total sales value, what they converted, was nearly $20,000 just from Google Local Service Ads. Now, what they actually spent, less than $5,000 on Google Local Service Ads for the month of January. They spent less than $5,000. I want to say it was like $4,000 something, and they nearly made $20,000. They quoted $50,000 worth of jobs. So if you're like, I need leads, how do I grow my business? This is by far the most profitable ways to do it right now. The easiest way to do it right now is Google Local Service Ads. This is why you should care. Obviously, it has to be done right. It's a lot more simple than Google search ads. There is some optimizations to be had with it, but I'm going to cover that entirely within here so you guys understand everything you need to do in order to achieve this. So, how do I maximize the return for my Google Local Service Ads? How do I optimize my Google Local Service Ads? Well, we have two objectives that I talk about with every customer. The first one is we need to get the right leads. That's the first thing. Every lead needs to be a quotable lead. So the caller is asking for a job you can fulfill and is in your service area. Essentially, you could just give them a quote. Are they in my service area? And are they looking for a home inspection? If so, that's the right lead. I don't care if they're price shopping or not. If they're a price shopper, it's still a lead because I can still give them a quote. Step 2, you have to convert those leads, regardless if it's a price shopper or not. So if every lead is good, then you just need to make sure your close rates on those calls is at least 35%. That's it. 35% on your close rate. So you need to close every third call. That's it. That's all you need to do in order to achieve the same results that that company did earlier that I'm showing here. Now, if I look at their actual close rate here and I show what the numbers mean, if they spent or if they converted $19,000 and they quoted $50,000, that means their close rate on this was 38%. So right around that margin that I told you. The average in home inspection world is probably 33%. The companies that are with us, it's between 33% on the low end, and then on the high end, it's 50%. So you even have a lot more room to achieve a much higher close rate, up to 50% of your calls.
Aaron, what's the 73% there on the conversion rate?
Great question. It's a misleading number. That 73% is the conversion rate on what's a quotable lead versus not. So of the 158 leads, some of them were repeat leads or they weren't entirely quotable because it was the wrong job type, they were out of service area, or anything else.
Got it.
All right, so we got our two objectives. We need to get the right leads, and we need to convert those leads. So step 1 in getting the right leads. Well, first off, we need to create an account with Google Local Service Ads. So the first step is you need to create that account. Just Google Local Service Ads, and you should see a page that looks like this. And you're going to go ahead and click Get Started. It is separate from Google Search Ads. So if you're looking at Google Ads, Google Search Ads, or something that looks like Google AdWords, you're in the wrong place. The second thing, after you get registered, you're going to go through a little bit of a verification process, but you're going to add the first thing is the business bio. So this business bio gives you check boxes of items you can add to your profile, such as military discount, professional service, or free estimate that I have checkmarked for this particular business. Now, this is standard across the board for every single company. So every company has these options to choose from. There's no other like custom ones that they can create. Next, we need to set the right job types. So as I mentioned earlier, you bid on job types. You're not bidding on keywords. So this becomes incredibly important. When you set up your account and you go through the onboarding process with Google Local Service Ads, you're going to state your category of business. Your category of business is going to be home inspector. When you're a home inspector, Google gives you these options to bid on for job types. They give you buyer seller inspection. You could see electrical, fireplace and chimney, full home inspection, home warranty, new construction. What I will say, my biggest piece of advice here is do not check everything. Only check the things that are highlighted here in blue that you're seeing, except for water testing, wood and insects. The reason being is because most inspectors don't offer a standalone electrical inspection. And most people that are searching for electrical inspections generally are going to need electricians. So my suggestion to you is just to add buyer seller inspection, full home inspection, home warranty, new construction, and then if you do commercial, add commercial. Same thing with all these others, fire safety, foundation. If it's foundation, more than likely they need a structural engineer and it's not going to be the right lead for you. For roof, same thing. They more than likely need a roofer. This is just really a Google nuance thing. They don't understand the industry enough to understand what job types they should be listing here. So that's essentially why we need to check on and off the right ones. The next two things is we need to set our service areas and our office hours. So these are hypercritical too. What I would recommend for the service areas, if you notice, and if you're familiar with Florida, I have everything highlighted by county. I would recommend 100% going by county. Do not use zip codes. Do not use cities, because what happens is you get really bogged down by saying, oh, Clearwater, St. Pete, Sarasota, Tampa, but you forget all of the surrounding areas. It's much easier to just put the county in and you cover the big blue box. You cover the entire area. So it's much easier to do that than list every single city. You're going to start noticing if you do that, there's going to be a bunch of missed areas and missed opportunities for things. And I will say most people put in like, hey, I service Orlando. So they put in the city of Orlando and the cost per lead in just the city of Orlando is super high compared to the suburbs around Orlando that you wouldn't necessarily think of. And obviously zip codes, it's going to take you forever to put in all the different zip codes you service if you service several counties. For your business hours here, make sure you're only putting business hours where you can actually pick up the phone. And I have some really good strategies for like answering services or converting more calls that I'll get to later. But essentially here for your business hours, this is where you have to be available to pick up the phone. If you're not available to pick up the phone during your set business hours here, you're shooting yourself in the foot, which I'll get to here in a little bit. But essentially, Google Local Service Ads will monitor if you're answering the phone or not. If you're not answering the phone, you're not going to get as many leads. Now, there's some other settings in here. You can turn on message leads, as I talked about before. So this is something you can opt in for, and then select the messaging preferences for receiving those message leads. You can opt in via email or text message. Just make sure for message leads you can respond to and get to quickly as well. These are people, if I go back to the very beginning of this presentation, that are Google searching for a home inspector. They're ready to talk to somebody right now. So if you can't answer message leads quickly, if it needs to be a phone call, do not opt in for this. But message leads are a good opportunity to get more leads at a lower cost. So if you can, opt in for those. The other setting that you can see here is direct business search. And it says, let local service ads highlight your business and results when someone searches for your brand or business directly. You will not be charged for leads from returning customers. I would always enable this. You may think like, I don't want to spend money to find people that are already searching for my brand. Well, the issue is your competitor will spend money to advertise for your brand. So if you don't want your competitor to start stealing some of your leads, enable this on so that way you can appear for your own brand name.
Are you saying that like a competitor could buy a keyword, like a pay-per-click word with your brand name in it, or specifically on Google local service ads, they can have your name show up or directed to
Great
them?
question. Yeah, it's both. So for Google local service ads or Google, if a competitor has a Google guaranteed or Google local service ads as well, they can appear for your brand name if you don't have this enabled. If you have this enabled, you will appear first.
Got it.
Next up, photos. So you can see lots of good examples of photos here. In this case, this is Waypoint based in Tampa. And one thing that I want to highlight about these photos is you could see a lot of people, a lot of smiling faces. You could see them inspecting some of their tools that they're doing, how they're going about their job. You could see realtors, you could see clients. That's what I would aim for when you're adding your photos here. You want consumers to look at your profile and see what it's like to work with you directly. Do not add defect photos, is what I'm saying here. Every home inspector loves their defect photos. Consumers have no idea what the picture of the roof you're showing or the missing shingle. They don't know, so don't put them. Instead, put a picture of you climbing on the roof, like this one. Show a picture of you smiling with another one of your inspectors if you have one. Show a picture of you opening the electrical panel, anything like that, or showing pictures of you with your clients and your realtors. Budget strategy. Oh, so this is the same Waypoint account. And then when I was making this presentation in January, so they actually spent $3,500. They didn't spend over 4,000, which I said. So much better return on investment even then. So your budget strategy here, I've seen a couple mistakes with this. The first mistake that I would say that I see a lot is everybody puts like a super ridiculous high amount budget. Don't do that. I've never seen it work. So don't do that. Instead, start something small. Start with $500 or $1,000 a month if you can go up to $1,000 a month. Start with that. Make sure you're getting a good return on investment. And then once you have that baseline, you can start slowly increasing the amount of money you're spending. If you're looking at spending something like $250, $300 a month, it might be too low in order to get enough leads, because part of that issue is if you don't get enough leads, your return on investment on that could be lower since you don't have enough opportunity from there. So I'd start around $500 or more if you can. And then they also do give you the option to do manual bidding or automatic. Automatic means Google will try to give you the most leads for the lowest cost. So it's just real-time auction bidding that Google will do. They'll decide based on the market, hey, this person gets the lead now, this person gets the lead now, this person gets a lead now. Oh, we have 10 other people advertising that want to get started? Great, prices go up for everybody until somebody screams, I can't take it anymore, and turns off their ads. The manual bidding instead is you say, hey, I want to bid a max of $40 for a lead. And so every time Google will go into that auction and say, this company wants to bid a max of $40. So if you know you want to spend only a certain number, you can put that number in. Generally, I would just leave it to automatic bidding because that's going to give you the most leads at the lowest cost, no matter what, depending on the market conditions. All right. So that first step, I was just talking about how do we optimize the profile to get the right leads. That's all you need to know to get the right leads, which isn't a whole lot. So this step 2 is about once we get the right leads, how do we convert those leads? The only thing I have to say here is answer the phone. Answer the phone. If you don't answer the phone, it will hurt you. Okay? So for a little bit of an overview, the first thing I have to say is these people don't know you and don't trust you. You have to be able to sell them on the phone. It's not a referral. Treat it as a cold lead. They can call every other inspector on that list. So you have to give them a reason to talk to you and want to work with you. Most home inspectors, and I know this personally because my parents are in the industry, they're used to, and I answer the phone too for my parents. Every client, every agent that called knew who they wanted to work with. It was honor services. They knew who they were talking to. They had built up that relationship. When you're talking about growing the company, scaling, reaching new people, this is a way to pay for leads of cold leads. These people don't know you or trust you. So you have to be able to pick up the phone, have a good personality, be able to sell yourself, and talk about your business. Second point I have here is have someone else answer your phones. If you can't hire someone, use a backup call center such as ACC. It's more professional and they're going to do a better job selling it than you would in the field. I really, really mean this when you need to hire somebody or have a backup call center. It looks way more professional if you have somebody answer your phones for you and do the scheduling for you. Having someone dedicated to answer your phone and selling, that's their entire job too. You can focus more on the inspecting. If you can be out in the field more, talking with clients, talking with agents, you'll ultimately just earn more money in the long run. I know it seems like a cost up front, but in the long run, you're going to earn more money. Third and final point, which I know I've talked about a few times here, I'm going to hit it home again. Missed calls equals a worse performance. You cannot miss a call or a message. It will make your performance worse and you'll get less calls from Google. Answer message leads within the fast is what I put here, but within the hour. But essentially, it should be very fast. The reason being is because Google is listening to every single one of your calls. And if they are going to voicemail, it actually starts deranking you. The algorithm deranks you. So it starts lowering your performance. And then you don't get as many leads. I've had companies that I've worked with and talked with all the time that they're like, Aaron, Google doesn't like me. I'm not getting any leads. My cost per lead is super high. And then I go to look at the call analytics and they have never picked up the phone. Well, if you don't pick up the phone or you have a long queue or a long wait time, who wants to pick up the phone for a doctor's office and sit there on hold forever or have to pound, oh, press 1 for whatever, press 2 for this. Nobody wants to do that. Just have it ring, have somebody pick it up, have somebody schedule it right then and there.
Do you have to
So
get a
here's-
separate phone number for that, Aaron? Do you recommend a unique phone number for your Google ads so you can track that separately, or is the same business phone number work across the board?
Great question. Google is going to put a tracking number on it anyway, so you have direct insight into the leads that you're receiving from Google's reports. I will say for companies that work with WolfPack, though, we put another tracking number on top of that because we provide that dashboard and we're tracking all sources. So you can, if you want to track it externally and have a couple more functionality to it. I know a couple phone systems, like if you're using like Dialpad or like Open Phone or like other phone systems, you can for your own analytics, but you don't have to. Google will do that for you. If you're doing Google search ads, that's completely different. And yes, you need a separate phone. All right. So here's my 3-step strategy to convert more leads. First one, obviously, I guess 4 steps. First one, answer the phone. The real first one is treat it like a sales calls. So use sales tactics and book it on the initial call. And what I mean by sales tactics is you don't have to be super salesy here. You really just have to be personable. You have to know your business. You have to be able to talk to somebody. If you have a hard time with people already or talking to people on the phone, then that's a good opportunity for you to give it to a backup call center or somebody that's dedicated and enjoys talking on the phone. But that first step is try to book it on the initial call. All right. So even if they say something like, oh, well, I'm waiting for my husband to get home or whatever else, if they're really hesitant on that, just saying, okay, well, I'd like to follow up with you. I can send you the quote via email. I'll follow up with you later, whatever it is. Second step, follow up with phone calls, emails, and text messages. So you need to follow up on all the different types of mediums of contact. You need to send them an email quote. You need to send them a text message. And you need to leave a voicemail as well if they don't pick up. Within 24 hours, it's gone. So you have to follow up multiple times within that 24-hour window. If they call in the late afternoon, follow up one time before the next day, and then follow up the first thing the next morning. You should be getting somewhere on the phone where, did you book with somebody? You must have booked with somebody. If you did, what was their price? I'm happy to price match for you. It would suck if you did all this work, spent all this money, and they got a job that was $20 cheaper, right? If that's the case, then I would tell somebody and say, hey, look, like I know you went to another guy, you booked with this guy for $20 less. However, what I can say is, we're the highest rated in the area, or we offer these unique selling points. So I think you'd get more value if you were to work with us if you wanted to do that. At least you give them that opportunity. Aaron, did you have something?
I was going to say that's a great opportunity to bring up your warranties and other value props that you might have that others don't. And I can say at ACC, we actually ran some statistics on answering the phone. And at one point, the goal over there was to return calls within the hour. And we had a really good rate of a really good response to that. But then we thought, well, let's see what happens if we return the call within 15 minutes. What does our close percentage look like? And it went up pretty dramatically if we called back within 15 minutes. So then we said, what if we call back within 5 minutes or less? And even then it went up further. So I can tell you that returning that call, really the first person that talks to them generally wins. Now there's price shoppers that are going to call multiple people, but if you can be the first person to talk to them, you have a significant advantage over everybody else.
I will say most consumers are willing to spend more money if they have a good experience with you over the phone and you offer those value props that Aaron just mentioned. But in the home inspection world in general, people don't know they need a home inspection until they need a home inspection. I've purchased a house twice now, and in both those times, even for myself that I knew the process, as soon as I put the offer in, I was immediately like, oh shoot, now I got to get a home inspector, right? And I have 5 days to get my home inspection done. So they don't know they need one until they need one, and when they need one, they need it right then and there. So make sure you're booking it, following up at least twice with phone calls, text messages, emails, and you're following up at least twice within 24 hours. Key metrics. So these are key metrics that I use within WolfPack to track the performance of our Google local service ads for all of our customers. And this is how I know something is wrong with the account ultimately. The first one is quoting. Quote at least 10 times what you spend in advertising costs. So if you spent $1,000 last month, you should have quoted at least $10,000. The reason why this is so important is because if you're not quoting enough, then either the leads are bad or you're just not quoting the jobs. You're doing a poor job answering the phone. And if you don't quote enough, there's not enough room for you to actually have a good close rate and to convert it. Because if you spend $1,000 and your close rate's 33%, that would mean your total return on investment then would be $3,300, which would be the minimum return on investment that I'd want to see you at. So you need to be quoting at least 10 times whatever your spend is. Next up, your close rate. So of what you quoted, how much did you convert to sales? The average close rate should be between 35 and 50%. The higher the conversion rate, the better return on investment. If you're quoting more and you have a high close rate, your return on investment is going to be really high. So you should be closing at least every third call. If you can get that more, the better. And then finally, we have the total ROAS, or return on ad spend. So the total return on ad spend should be between 300 and 500%. The average is 200%. The average return on investment through all Google ads is 200%, meaning for every dollar you put in, or every $100 you put in, you get $200 out, which is not a lot. What I'm saying is you can absolutely make more money. A minimum of you spend $100 and you get at least $300 out. The goal should be $500 plus. I have companies all the time that reach $500 plus from advertising. It's usually short-lived because they have really good close rates. They had some really good months. Sometimes it does come back down, but those are the companies that have really good sales close rates. So they're quoting enough, and then their team is closing those deals. All right, putting this all together. The first step is we need to get the right leads. You need to add photos, set the right job types, bid appropriately, add a bio, set the right office hours, and set the right service area. Once you do that, you need to convert the calls. Answer the calls and message leads fast. Treat it like a sales call. Have someone else answer your phones and convert it within 24 hours. Follow up at least twice with an email, text message, and phone call, both times. And then you could scale your business. Easy after that. Your ROI should be easily 300%, which means you can spend more and look on other ad platforms and start advertising in other places. You can continuously grow more and scale more. Really easy as that. It does take the initial work of setting it up, getting the right leads, and tracking it every month. I will say if it was easy, everybody would be millionaires. But it's not. It takes work, and people think that Google Ads you could just turn on and just start earning a bunch of money from, but you need to look at these metrics consistently. If you're not looking at these metrics consistently, you don't know what's wrong and you don't know what to fix and how to improve it and eventually make more money from it. So before I end here, there's one other thing that I wanted to talk about, which is the agent lifecycle. This is really, really important here because when you're talking about Google local service ads, and I say that the return on investment is 300 or 500%, whatever it is, it doesn't end there. That's the initial return on investment, right? Your acquisition cost, right? Could be, let's say, $50 to get that lead and that home inspection. But what just happened is you connected with a client who had an agent you've never met before. So you really, really need to connect with that agent. And now they're a new buyer's agent with you. And you need to do your darndest to retain that agent, to get them to refer you more often. At some point, they're going to go inactive. They're going to stop referring you for whatever reason. And you should do your darndest to revive that agent. And then at some point, you might lose that agent. Maybe they change careers or find another inspector. But ultimately, what I'm saying here is you need to create automations and sequences to follow up with agents at every step of their life cycle. At a minimum, consider doing an email to really get into it to the next level. You can mix in some omni-channel marketing and automate it. What I mean by omni-channel, it just means different methods of communication. So email is one, a phone call is another, a text message is another, a postcard is another. And if you're doing all of that at every stage of the life cycle, you're really winning at this. So every time you work with a new buyer's agent, boom, email, phone call, text message, postcard. Hey, they just did their third inspection with you. Send them a postcard. Hey, they became inactive. They stopped referring you. It's been 90 days since you've heard from them. Well, maybe I need to send them an email, text message, postcard, and phone call. And the list goes on. But this is how companies at a larger scale are scaling even further past the Google local service ad. That's the initial part. This is the second half where we maximize the return on investment. That's all I got. I'm happy to answer a bunch of questions, as I'm sure you guys might have some, and then talk more about whatever else.
What would you say the very first thing they should do when they hang up here and they want to implement this? What's the very first step?
The very first step is Googling Google local service ads and creating an account. You have to go through the initial verification. But that initial verification just means, depending on your state requirements, you have to input your license information and your insurance. And then you have to go through a background check. As long as you didn't murder somebody, you should be okay. I've had a couple cases of things like if you've had felonies, I think if it's like, obviously if you murdered somebody, I think that could be serious, but even with some felony type stuff, you can plead your case. Like they do give you that option, but like if you got traffic tickets or whatever else, you should be fine. So you complete that initial verification and just go through that process. After that, Aaron, I'm happy to share this presentation with you so you can pass it out to your members and everything.
Yeah, that'd be
But
great.
you're going to go through each of these steps.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be great to get this deck, and I can turn it into a PDF and send it out to them so that they have the visuals of what to do next.
Yeah.
Wayne, did you have a question?
Wow, how'd you know I had a question? Yeah, I do. Okay, so when we're going through this thing, and they say how to contact, go back to the one page that said email or text. It just seems that certain generations, not my generation, but certain generations prefer to text. So you're saying you don't want to ask for that in here? I mean, I got a lot of clients, all they do is text, so.
I'm saying don't add the message leads option. So I went back to the slide where it shows I'm Googling home inspectors near me.
Mm-hmm.
And you see this one has get phone number, and this one doesn't have has get phone number and message.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is don't turn on the message leads, this message option, if you're not going to reply to it fast enough. If you are, turn it on.
Okay.
But if you can't get to it, it'll hurt you more than anything.
Okay. Got another one, Aaron. Okay. So I'm not saying that I'm unique or nothing, but on the map, I'm #1 in my area. Okay. But I want to get more business. I'm 35 miles north of Los Angeles. I want to be in Los Angeles. We can, by just doing that map, we can draw just within the map. I mean, my problem is I get tons of Palmdale leads, and which are good. They just don't pay that much. LA pays much better.
Yeah, you're right in that bucket that Google's wanting you to do, which is sign up with Google local service ads to advertise directly in LA. And that would be the only like true way to like consistently show up. There's tons of hacks you can do from an SEO perspective to try and get your profile to rank or like rank in other places. But on the map pack section that you're talking about, it's very difficult to rank that in other areas outside of like where your house is located or your office.
But if he selects the county, LA County or whatever county he's looking at in the Google local service ads, then that'll immediately make him available in those areas.
That's correct. He can put LA County or whatever around that. But Wayne, I would not put just that county in there. Put all the counties you serve. The reason being is because I run into this all the time where they're like, well, I want more business in this county, so only advertise there. Well, the thing is, everybody else wants business in that county. And so if you're limiting yourself to that particular county, you're probably going to see a higher lead cost, and you're also going to see less leads overall compared to if you put the entire list. Yeah, you may not be in LA County all the time, but your schedule is full and you're packed with inspections, and you're getting them at a much lower cost than you were to just advertise in LA County itself, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I've got a couple of questions.
Yes, June, go ahead.
I feel like, and I don't know if anybody else experiences this, Google is like Big Brother looking over my shoulder all the time. So how do they know that we're not answering the phone? Or how do they even know if we've closed the sale for our result numbers?
Google has a tracking number on top of yours. So if I go back to this, you see how it says get phone number? That phone number is a Google phone number. They record the call. And then they use their technology to understand if you're answering the phone or if people are hanging up. So that's the first thing. But they don't know your return on investment. But what they do know is how many people are advertising. And as more people advertise, the costs go up for everybody. So if the market's hard and kick some home inspectors out and they're not advertising, the costs go down. So that's how they kind of gauge like what they should be pricing it out to be.
But that, just to be clear, that other sheet or that other page that Aaron was showing us that showed conversion rates and it showed quoted numbers and all that, that isn't something that Google knows. That's something specific to Aaron's company that he's providing to his customers. So Google has no idea the dollar amount that you quoted and what percentage of those were closed. So that's a feature of Aaron's marketing company.
Okay. The other question is, how do they know I'm a legitimate business? Do I put down all my criteria, who we are and our EIN number and all that? It didn't seem like they were asking any of that. I tried to go to the sign-in page while you were talking, and I just couldn't get there fast enough because I was listening. But do they know if we're a real business yet at that point?
So when you initially sign up, they're going to require some form of documentation.
Okay,
Each state is going to be different. So I will say, like for the state of Florida, which I know very well, like they're going to know you're a legitimate business because everything has to match. So your Google business profile name has to match what is on your business documents. The addresses have to all match. Everything has to match, like everything. So they will know.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Hey, Aaron, I'm going to ask you, since we're on here, the hot subject lately, it seems to be, is the Google's been removing reviews. I know there's been a lot of changes going on and things like that, but what are you seeing? I'm starting to hear some reviews are coming back. A lot of them were removed, but some are slowly coming back. You got any advice, any insight on what you're seeing and recommending to WolfPack clients about those reviews?
Yeah, there was a stage where like a lot of reviews were removed, and that was because of a bad update. And since then, your reviews should be back. So if your reviews are not back by then that means Google removed your reviews for other reasons, which could be various reasons. But what I will say overall around Google Business Profiles is I am noticing a lot more strict guidelines. And it's like if you try to change anything, it flags the
Yes.
profile and you get suspended no matter what. It's very frustrating. I will
Yes.
say as an agency, and I'm sure as a business owner too, because anytime we try to make an update for a customer or you guys have to update your business information, Google doesn't have it figured out well enough to where it's just like a seamless transfer. It seems like you have to edit it first and then wait and hope and pray that they don't suspend your account. And then more than likely they're going to suspend your account. And then you have to submit your blood type and your diagnostics and your firstborn in order to get them to transition everything. So all that I can have for advice for that is to make sure that you're abiding by Google's guidelines and you have all of your business documentation in a row before you go to try to make any change or adjustment. For the reviews, the best thing that I can say is you can reach out to Google support to try and get reviews back or report reviews if you think they're bad reviews on like your profile, for example, like spam or something like that.
Okay. Good word. Real quick, I know you were in our newsletter that went out in February, which came out on Wednesday, February 12th. You are the highlighted member benefit that we're giving away. Just kind of do a little shameless plug, 10% off for the first 6 months for Summit members. Tell us a little bit about your service and what we could expect if signing up with WolfPack.
Yeah. I'm actually, is it okay if I share a different screen?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
Cool.
And while you're bringing that up, if everybody were to open up the email that was sent out for February, March will be coming here in the next week or so. We're almost to the end of February. When you go to the member benefits and you see the WolfPack option and a benefit for this month, you'll see that link that takes you back, and we're going to start having all of these benefits listed there. So you will see WolfPack still next month there, and it will be an option for you to pick from and choose from. So that's one of the newer things that we're starting in 2025 for some savings with vendors throughout the industry. So go ahead, Aaron.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah, so I just wanted to show real quick our services drop down here. This is all the different services we offer. So we offer everything from initial branding, but mainly like web design, search engine optimization, the advertising, which is what this presentation was about. Google local service ads is, you can see this tag here called hot. Everybody's talking about Google local service ads and doing that. So if you want to claim that, that's 10% off for 6 months. You can apply that to any of these services, including like review requests. If you don't have a lot of reviews are very critical to local service ads. So we do help with that, CRM stuff, and social media and others. But this is a good list of the different services we offer. We're something what's called a full channel digital marketing agency. So we do a little bit of everything within this. But a lot of people, a lot of home inspectors have been jumping on the Google local service ads stuff just because we can do such a fantastic job to get more leads for you.
What's that website, Aaron?
WolfPackAdvising.com.
WolfPackAdvising.com. Awesome.
Yeah. You can click get a proposal. And when you do that, make sure there's a little box in the next section from here to put in like how you heard about us. Just put Summit in there, or put the Summit meeting. And then that way our team knows that you're coming from us, and we can automatically apply that coupon for you guys.
Awesome. Any other questions for Aaron while we've got him? All right. Well, we sure appreciate everybody joining, especially you, Aaron. Thank you for taking the time out of your day. You're awesome, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, you guys.